It started in 2018 for sure
Okay.
when I lost my sister Rachel to suicide. That's when I really started on this journey. Now, at the time of that happening, I was living my best life. I was a professional wrestler. I was living in Philadelphia with my one of my best friends in the whole wide world, who's about to get married in the summer. He also wrestles on
Val
TV.
Tove.
And yeah, we were just we were struggling to get by, but living sort of the artist's dream, as independent professional wrestlers, hoping to someday get a contract or get on TV. And that was the dream at the time, was to wrestle for
Oh
WWE.
wow.
And I was on my way there. I was definitely on my way there. I just had a tryout for WWE, and in a few months, maybe years, depending on the timing, I probably would have been there. Um, but in September of 2018, my sister, yeah, ended her own life. And so everything I thought I was going to do with my life got completely changed. My perspective about life changed. My perspective about who I wanted to be, who I was being, how fragile life is, everything you could possibly think about. I mean, maybe you've been through something catastrophic. Everyone's been through something catastrophic where in an instant it changes your perspective about everything. And it did for me, obviously, in that moment. It took me a couple years to sort of figure out the direction I wanted to take with my life. But that was the moment everything changed, and sort of the reason why I do the things I'm doing now. Now they've morphed over the last 7 years, and but really, yeah, I feel like that's my purpose on the planet. I call it my massive transformative purpose to try and end mental suffering. I know that's not going to happen in my lifetime, but man, if I go in the grave knowing that I moved the needle just a fucking little bit, I'll be happy
Oh,
about
for
that.
sure. I mean, I I can feel that kind of pain, and it's interesting because when you lose a loved one, when you lose something that's very close to you, when you talk to people that have never lost, a parent or a sibling or, somebody like, even like a grandparent, believe it or not, there's a different feeling that you experience that there's no way of putting into words, whether it maybe be spiritual or non-spiritual. I, you know, to whatever anybody believes. But I feel that has an effect on you. That when you can meet other people that have felt your pain, like you said, with mental health, because it does, it has an effect on your mental health. Some people take it really well, and some people, like you said, you then kind of rethink your life. You kind of rethink your direction of how you're going to move forward because there is that hole. You can't call them. You can't text them. You can't wish them happy birthday.
Yeah.
Sorry, bro.
Yeah, it's the interesting sort of journey with grief, but like I think in our culture we have just a weird feeling about death. I don't think there's anything wrong with thinking about death, but we see it as like this sort of weird taboo thing. But thinking about the end of my life, thinking about what I want people to say at my funeral, I think those are sort of important discussions to have, because then you can track backwards. Okay, how do I want to live my life? Because when I'm in the grave and people are talking about at my funeral, they're not going to talk about how I was a professional wrestler and I ran around in my underwear. They might make fun of me because that's fucking funny, and it'll be
It's
funny
fucking funny.
70 years from now when I'm
Right.
dead. But they'll talk about how I made them feel, hopefully, right? They'll talk about, like, hopefully the values that I represented in this world, that I aimed to be kind and empathetic and compassionate, and I lived my life with some fucking zest, and I went
You got
for it. Like, that's what
Moxie,
they're going to
bruh.
say.
Bring back the
You know what I
70s.
mean?
Bring
That's what they're going to
Moxie.
say.
Yeah.
That's right. And so, like, there's no reason not to think about that now. Like,
Right.
fast forward a little bit. Like, what's the best version of me look like? What do I look like as a grandparent to my son? I got a 5-week old son. I think about these things a lot now. What do I want him to take away from me? How do I represent that day in, day out, even when I'm frustrated and I'm tired? And the only way I can think about that is, okay, what am I gonna feel when I'm taking my last breath? Am I gonna say, yeah, I fucking gave it all I got, or I left a little bit on the table? I should have had this conversation. Or I should have did this. No, all these things are gonna be hard and challenging. But the more things we avoid, the more things we brush under the rug, just the more it compiles. And then where does it all go? It goes to the end of our life, and then we die, and there's nothing left. And so, might as well think about death a little bit, not in a way where like there's varying degrees of it, right? We have, if you're thinking about mental health, right, you have suicidal ideation, you have suicidal intent, right? There's varying degrees. When it gets to sort of the intent part and I'm sort of making a plan, yeah, we definitely need to get some help at that point. Suicidal ideation is a little bit different. I'm sort of thinking about the end of my life and how I may end it. That's totally different than what I'm talking about. That's just a serious mental health sort of issue. I'm talking about just every day thinking about what do I want my life to be? And that's okay because death is coming for us all no matter what. And for me, it makes me feel like I want to be in the present moment. Dave, you and I met over TikTok,
Yeah.
right? Fucking crazy.
On a
I go
live.
on live almost every
On a
night,
live,
right? Just
yeah.
a wild shit happens on TikTok live.
Mm.
And hopefully this isn't the case, but me and you may never speak again. I hope that's not the case. But while we're speaking right now, I'm going to enjoy it as much as humanly possible. And that puts into perspective my life and interactions and having lunch with people or meeting friends or meeting new people. And like, I'm not perfect by any means, far from it, but like losing someone you love really, really puts into perspective how fragile life is and how precious these moments that we have are. And so, yeah, to go on a little bit of
No,
a rant
no.
there.
Honestly, you bring up a really great point. It's also in a way of like, what's your legacy? Something that I've kind of been able to humble myself to a certain extent is, I come from a background of people that were not necessarily famous. I come from a background of basically blue collar and white collar people. That on one side of my family is just three generations of Americans, and then on my dad's side, and he's the first generation, like he came from Morocco in 1970. And you realize in your own life what you're able to accomplish. And the thing that gives me strength every single day when I'm struggling in school or when I'm struggling around people or when I'm trying to figure things out in my life of putting myself in their shoes, remembering of how, like you said, how precious and how fragile life is to the extent that when you no longer have them there, what is the fuel to keep you going where you're able to create something valuable for your life? If that's being able to create a family, being able to create a career, create something that you can leave behind, that you feel passionate about. We live in a society, unfortunately, even here in the United States, I'm going to just say it, where the soul and humanity of having passion and creativity and this ability to be able to socialize is crumbling because so much of our life is spent of us isolating and clonking ourselves out into boxes, working 9 to 5s, doing things that we have no desire to. Like, listen, man, money's great. I love money, right? It's a fucking piece of paper that just says on
Mhm.
there that you have this and this amount. Put money in your bank, it's not there. They're just showing you a number. If they go broke tomorrow, your 100,000 or whatever you got, it's gone. Gotta figure out what that legacy and what value is in your life.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, what's really being rich? I've been thinking about that a lot because I like money. I want to make money for my
Yeah.
businesses. You need money to do stuff, yada 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 yada. But I'm like, sitting back, looking at my kid, looking at my wife, looking at my parents that are down the street from me. All of that makes me as rich as you can possibly get. And then also being able to do this for a job. I mean, I built a studio in my backyard. Like that's crazy. Well, boy, just so I could podcast some more, like as a job, going on TikTok live, whatever the case may be. That in itself, having conversations, exploring different topics, bringing my best self each and every day. That is richness. There's nothing better in life than having a meal or a conversation with someone you love or someone you're getting to know. Like there's nothing better. And of course you need money to have that meal and go on the vacation and all
Of
that yada
course.
yada
Especially if
yada.
you're going to Monaco,
Sure.
It's like you're going to need hella
Right.
money, bruh.
But the essence of it is that you're with someone you care about or trying to get to know or that you love. And that's the beauty of life.
I think also what it boils down to is money doesn't necessarily solve your problems because, you know, you've been blessed to be able to have a child, right? People can go from today until tomorrow spend thousands of dollars. But if the universe doesn't want you to have a kid, you ain't having a kid. It's like,
Yeah.
your adoptions could fail, or, you try, I think it's IVF, or you're having a hard time. Like, there's so many factors that come in there. I love this. I love listening to like Neil deGrasse Tyson sometimes, and he said like, you existing is special because so many other people couldn't be born because you're born. That just
Yeah.
blows your mind into perspective in a way, you know?
Yeah, we're like 1 in a trillion or
Yeah.
something to be born or some crazy stat like that. Yeah. You know what's you know what's funny, Dave? You know when you're younger, they tell us like, dude, super easy to have a baby, don't have unprotected sex, like you'll get pregnant instantly. It's like it's so funny because then when you're like actually trying to get pregnant, like it just like takes like a real bit of work and it doesn't happen for everyone. And when it finally does happen, it is truly a miracle. And then watching my wife give birth, like being as close as humanly possible to watching her give
Not
birth, it's a
fainting. Did
goddamn
you
miracle.
faint?
Not fainting. No, was not.
Wow.
I
All
did
right,
not
this man
faint.
needs a gold star.
To be honest, dude, watching my son get circumcised was way worse.
I was there, but very much do not remember the situation. We were both there.
Yeah, way worse.
Way worse
Yeah,
experience.
yeah.
Oh
So,
god.
the sex part was funny. My wife and I were just joking about it. It took us about 3 months to get pregnant, which is not very long considering it takes people years and it never happens for some people.
Good genes.
But it's like they tell you you just got it. You can't have unprotected sex. You're gonna get pregnant instantly. It's like so funny. But I mean, yeah, obviously it's true when you're younger, like 16, 17, 18, 19, right? Things happen. There's more stuff going on. Women are more fertile at that age, whatever the case may be.
You
But
know,
it's still a
it's funny
miracle.
you bring this up because I'm just thinking about the episode of. Have you watched Friends?
Yeah, for the most
Okay,
part.
there's a part in the end of Friends where Ross has sex with Rachel, and then it happens to be like supposedly like because he had a condom on, she gets pregnant, and then they have a kid, and then they have that whole segue in towards the end of this, and I'm like, even that idea is crazy because like they're in their 30s, right? They're in their 30s, they're career driven, and like he happens to be that one dude that puts on a condom that's like the 98% chance, like, bam, pregnant. 9 months later, kid.
Yeah, it had to be Ross though.
Had to be Ross. Joey would be like, nah. Joey's like has like 100 kids at that point. Like, he didn't even tell you.
Yeah, it makes sense for Joey. Yeah, it's so
And
funny.
it's
Had to be Ross.
But even that's kind of bizarre. You know what I mean? Like, that's kind of like a
Hmm.
twist of fate of the universe. It's like, well, you could wait until ovulation, you could do all these right things, you can have unprotected sex. And it's like, again, the universe don't give a shit. If it's gonna happen, it's
Yeah,
gonna happen. If it ain't gonna happen, it ain't gonna happen.
that's true. I agree with that. You know, I mean, yeah, and it's so interesting, like teen pregnancies and stuff like that. Like, why is that the case? Why does that happen? How does that happen? What lesson is being taught there? Whatever that might be. But it's all very interesting.
I think it also has to tie in when you're really young. Again, I come from a religious background, so I didn't really have this experience. I'm going off of what other people have told me. When you're really young, and you're interacting, either you're attracted to the opposite sex or the same sex, and you're in that environment, you're kind of blossoming. When you meet somebody and you're able to create this romantic relationship where you're able to be open and vulnerable and start to like express yourself for like some of these times, like the very beginning of your life, like you watch this shit in the movies on HBO, you hear your parents talk about it a little, but you never actually get to experience that until you like get to that age, and shit happens, man. You know, pheromones, all that shit kind of just going all over the place. Like, people do crazy shit. Like, that's why, like, even some of those cases where teenagers like commit suicide, do self harm, like shootings and things, like, you're dealing with people that have like a lot of emotions. Like, there's an atomic bomb in some, there's a tomahawk inside of them.
Yeah, yeah. The suicide one is obviously one that I think about quite a bit. Because with young, like all suicides are quite complex. But
Yeah.
in my sister's situation, right, she struggled and battled for over 10 years. and then ended up losing her battle with her illness of bipolar disorder, schizophrenia, severe depression. So just like a slew of really, really serious mental health conditions. And so it logically makes sense, like sort of losing your battle with cancer. Like she just lost her battle with mental illness, right? 10 years of fighting, all that stuff. Logical, that makes sense. People can wrap their brains around that. But when someone is like 10, 11, 12, 13, like that sort of age, where one event in their life could feel so catastrophic. Someone breaks up with them. They don't get invited to the right party, right? Especially with social media now, it could look just so like your life just sucks when really that's not the case. But we're so young and we don't have any sort of experience in dealing with these types of things. And maybe we don't have the right support system at home, or maybe it's just that one thing that drove us to do
Yeah.
this very permanent thing. And that's where it gets like really, really scary. And we need to have some real preventative measures and teaching kids at a very young age about these sort of life lessons and experiences and handling their emotions and what proactive tools there might be. Because to lose these young kids so early to suicide is the most tragic thing that you can possibly think of. Again, much different situation than my sister. Still very tragic, obviously,
Yeah.
but there's at least a logical thing there. With these, it's like with these young kids, it's like, man, it's so something has to be done maybe early on to teach these types of emotional skills, this emotional flexibility, this mental skills stuff to young people. I mean, I'm going to try to teach it to my son as soon as possible. Breathing exercises, visualization, affirmations, the five senses. What can I feel, touch, and see right now when I'm feeling a bit overwhelmed or frustrated? Like all these types of things that young people can pick up really cool. If young people can learn how to speak 3 languages by the time they're 7 or something, because their brain is so malleable. I don't know if that's an exact stat or not, but you get my
Yeah.
point, right? Then we can definitely teach them the right emotional and mental vocabulary to handle the first time that they walk up to a girl and that girl says, "No, I don't like you. You're not invited to my birthday party." Damn, fuck, that sucks. But I can handle it. I can handle it because of these other skills that I've acquired. Yes, it's going to feel bad. Yes, I'm going to be sad. Yes, I'm going to cry, but that is nothing compared to doing sort of the permanent solution. And I think that's really important when we talk about the future of our young people.
We I don't want to get political, but there is this. I'm not, but there is a level. I'm gonna be careful as a libertarian because I can go really far. You There is this also like setup where we live in a society where, let's be honest, like there's education sucks. Okay, it sucks ass. We're not setting up people to be successful, and as somebody like me that's in my late 20s, interacting with people in their early 20s, I can see that. You know, their social skills suck ass. Their social skills consist of sending a text message and then ghosting on Facebook Messenger. Like, it's sad, man. It's just like,
Yeah.
it's so bizarre to grow up in a time where I'm literally at the very end before this whole like technological boom of social media and all of this. Like, I tell people, like, I remember when Instagram came out. Okay, I remember when Facebook came out. They're like, "Damn, you old." I'm like, it's not that long ago. It's
Mm-mm.
really not.
No.
It's less than 20 years
Yeah, I mean,
ago. Yeah.
yeah, I remember it too. I'm only 33, you know. It's like I remember MySpace a little bit, top 8 friends. I remember when Facebook came out. I
Netscape,
remember when Instagram
AOL
came
AIM,
out.
America Online.
Yep.
Yeah.
I remember when Twitter came out, like recently, probably not recently, maybe like 8 months ago, I was searching keywords in my Twitter to see what I said when I was like a stupid idiot. And like, it's just like wild stuff.
It's
It's like,
always wild shit, bro. Like back then, Twitter was crazy. Like people being
it's unhinged.
so unhinged. Like now, like the Elon, I call it the Elon era. The Elon era is unhinged, but it's nothing like its heyday, bro. Back then, it was crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so interesting to think about like what cancel culture was. Like if you're trying to cancel someone who tweeted something when they were like 17, like if we're not allowed to make mistakes and then grow from them, then I don't know where we go as a society. You
We're not
know,
perfect.
like especially yes, there's never been a perfect person to ever exist ever. You and I definitely aren't going to be the first ones. And so like we have this whole public space. Like young kids nowadays, I get it. Like I coach baseball for some young athletes, and if you don't play sports, there's a lot of guys that they play with or go to school with who are just really sort of scared of anything.
Mhm.
They're scared to talk to girls. They're scared to do anything because of the fear that it might be posted on social media for the rest of their lives. And I can understand that fear. I would have I wouldn't have done any or said any of the dumb shit that I said if someone was constantly filming me. But I knew that this event just happened at this bar, just happened at this school, and like it was pretty much gone. People might talk about it for like a couple of days, but then it's out. It's finished. No one cares anymore. Something had happened. But this thing could live forever if I get rejected at this party from this girl, or if I try to talk to this chick at Starbucks and someone films it and now I'm on X for the rest of my life. Like all of that stuff is quite scary and it's holding people
Yeah.
back from trying, from going out there, from getting rejected, and especially young men. Now, as you said, we're getting everything sort of all these young men are getting everything behind a screen. It's perceived to get everything behind a screen. But I can tell you a real life relationship in the real world with a woman, if you're into that, there's nothing better. But we have to go out and try. You know, we have to feel that rejection. We have to understand what a no means, and we can't get that if we don't have this sort of trial and error, these reps, just like anything else.
Yeah. 100%. And I mean, when you look at both sides, especially even when it comes to dating, right? Either, for example, you're homosexual, you're heterosexual, or if you're lesbian or whatever, you know what, you're in between the rainbow bucket. You know, being able, and I've noticed this. I think like the key factors is being able to be vulnerable, being able to be like have good communication skills, and as a New Yorker, be a little fucking gutsy. Like, don't be a little shit on the first. Like, listen, you're spending money, you're spending time. Like we said, like time is precious. You're taking time out of your life to meet with this person. Take it fucking seriously. Yeah, we're just having a good. Take it fucking seriously. If you want something serious, if you're just looking for, the upside down pineapple and some fucking blowjob around the circus, hell yeah. I mean, there are plenty of people that are ready for that shit. But if you're looking for something more serious, correct me if I'm wrong. Like, I think you should take it serious.
100%. Yeah, I mean, if you're looking for a real lifelong partnership, you're looking for a wife, you're looking for a husband in that regard, that's a serious matter. There's no more important decision you can ever make in your life than that right there. I mean, my wife is the single greatest thing that's ever happened to me. She saved my life. And now we have a son together. What a fucking miracle. But I wouldn't have created the space in my life if I hadn't made a decision. Like I'm making the decision that I want to be married, because I was not acting that way in my life. I was doing, I was closing the loop on being a degenerate. I was coming out of being a professional wrestler and traveling the world and doing all sorts of things. And that's not conducive to raising a family or meeting the right person. But if you're a man out there and you're a young man and you want to make that choice, like the first question you might want to ask yourself is a very simple question. It's like, would I have sex with me? You
Might
know,
have to get back to you on that.
and that
Eh,
that's an interesting
right.
question, right? Because if you look at yourself in the mirror, have you showered today? Do you have personal hygiene? Have you went to the gym? Do you have prospects? Are you able to financially provide for someone? Can you physically provide for someone? Women want to made to feel safe, but not just physically safe. They want to be felt emotionally safe and all these sorts of things. Are you the type of person that can provide that? Now, you don't have to have all of these things right now in this moment because, like a sports team, women do draft on potential. They love to see potential. And that's important if you're putting in the work. You're not going to, if you're 26 years old, you're not going to have everything all figured out. You're not going to have the perfect job yet, or the house yet. But if you have the prospects to have that, women love that. Now, if you're interested in that type of thing and you're making a decision that I want to become the man that is attractive to the opposite sex to find the person that I want to spend the rest of my life with. And then you got to think about, non-negotiables, what values you bring to the table, what values you want them to bring to the table, because you can easily parse people out on a first date if they don't bring the values that you represent. I mean, I wanted my wife to bring stability into my life. I wanted her to bring peace. I wanted her to be supportive of my dreams and goals. Those are some of the most important things. I wanted her to be Jewish, right? Like those are so if the person that I was dating didn't bring those values, okay, you're a very nice human, but on to the next. Now, if I was in the day and age where I was just out there getting after it, I would have explored that. But that's not where my intentionality lies. And so if you are a young man, your intentionality is extremely important.
Yeah. I can speak on, even when it comes to the gay community, it's just, as somebody like me, for example, that, I'm not religious, I'm more traditional in a sense, and I'm kind of like libertarian and more conservative. And, you know, I get this all the time. It's like, but you don't sound gay. Why don't you act gay? I,
What
I,
does that
I don't know
mean?
what that means. It's like, why do we,
What does that mean?
why is there such a fear of allowing people that are, for example, masculine gays? Okay. It's a real shit. Some of us are just, you know, doctors or nurses or technicians or whatever. We're in all different kind of industries. It's like, and like you said, it's being able to draft yourself through. It's where you can be comfortable with a person at, a stable, honestly, you need to have a stable foundation in your life to have a serious relationship to start with. And then
That
build with that person. Why is this whole persona of materialism that plays? You know what I'm talking about. It's like, well, why don't you drive a Mercedes? Why don't you own a house in the Hamptons? Why don't you have $500,000 in your savings? Why can't I buy this Givenchy bag? Why can't I eat? You know what I mean? It's like it becomes all these things. It's like I want, I want, I want, I want. But it's a two-way situation. It's not all about materialism. It's not just about how the person presents themselves. It's who they are internally as well.
yeah. Yeah, the what you just said about being gay reminds me of Douglas Murray. I feel like anytime he points out the fact that he's gay, when speaking to like a pretty flamboyant person, they're like, "What?" It's like, "Yeah, because it's not my whole personality. I just like I'm a person in the world doing stuff." You know, I find that very interesting that we got so obsessed with what people do behind closed doors and who they have sex with. Like, I just like I want to be around people who are interesting, who care about themselves, who care about others, who have, I love the word zest, which you have zest for the world,
Yeah.
right? Like that's the most important things. We've become so attached to what the other stuff is, and then like having to fit inside of this like box. Oh, Dave, you don't act gay. I don't fucking know what that
I don't know what that
means.
means either.
That's not a
Yeah.
that's not a like if I were to say I don't know what's like a value. Dave, you don't act very honest. I know what that
Yeah.
means. Like you're not trustworthy. You're not on. That makes sense. That's a
Right.
character value. But yeah, it's like I have like everyone like has some black friends who always get told you don't act black enough. Like what
What
does
does
that
that
mean?
mean?
What I'm not really I don't follow that like this is me. This is who I am. Like this is who I represent in the world and this is who I
I
like
I
this
would
is my authentic
I
like I
would
don't know.
love for those people to meet black people in Manchester, UK. I just
Those people are
those
awesome.
people are awesome. And are are you going to say, well, they don't act black? Yeah, they happen to be black, but they're British. They drink in
Right.
pubs. They work in manufacturing companies. Like,
And they have awesome accents.
awesome accents. And they, like, they're the people that you can't keep up drinking with. I'm like, I'm sorry. Like, when it comes to British people, they get an award for the best drinker.
Dave, a little known fact about me is that my wife is British.
She probably outdrinks you.
When we used to drink, we did pretty good together, but there's no more alcohol being consumed in our home.
I wonder
Uh,
why. Oh,
yeah.
God.
Uh, but her brother, she has a brother, his name is Scott, and he has a girlfriend who's from Manchester, and her accent is the best. It's the best. Because my wife's British accent is a bit watered down now because she's been in America for so long. So anytime we go somewhere, I tell people she has a fake British accent because it's funny and it gets a laugh. And now she's like sort of annoyed with me because she knows that's the only joke I have because it's worked so many times that I keep saying it over and over again. Um, but
Where is
yeah,
she?
we're
Where is she from? The
yeah.
UK.
Yeah, just London, proper
Okay,
London.
so
About 30 minutes.
she's South
Yeah,
England.
30 minutes outside of there called Bushy. It's her place where she lives, or her family still lives.
By the way, that is an interesting thing about, especially with when you're dealing with British people when they come to the states. The more northern they are, no matter how hard they try, they always have a British accent. Like, you
Hmm.
can't take a person that's from Blackpool that's been living there since they were a baby, and pull that shit out. Like, that is staying in them for the rest of their life. But like when you deal like people living in like Southampton, or London or that area or Sanford, a whole different story.
Yeah. The funniest part is with her British accent, she doesn't even know how to say our son's name right because my son's name is Asher, and British people can't say ours. So,
Asha.
she,
It's Asha.
yeah, it was the funniest part. We're like before he was born, we were at one of the doctor's offices, and the doctor's like, "Yeah, so what's the name of your son?" And my wife was like, "Asha." And the doctor just did not click. She was like, "Oh my God, that's such a unique name. I've never heard that before." And I was like, "Bro, it's Asher."
Yeah, it's not Butterfield, okay? This is a completely different person. Oh god.
I can't believe I'm roasting my wife on this
No,
podcast, but
you
it's
know what?
fun. It's
You
good
know
for
what
her.
though? Again, like that kind of keys into play as well as when you have relationships with people, whether in your case, whether it be romantic or non-romantic, there are things that you learn to love about that person. You know,
Mhm.
like I have a very good friend of mine that she has a sorry, excuse me, they have a tendency of driving me crazy at times. And we just get into these little pissy fights. You know, they're from Brooklyn, like I'm from Rockland County, like I'm upstate. They're like this city, so like we just clash back and forth. And usually like we usually land on I'm like, you don't know what it is to struggle, okay? I grew up with more snow than you'll ever see. I grew up with the crazy Briar Wolf shit in the woods that you were scared shitless when you were a kid. So don't give me that shit. But I love that kind of stuff because that really is how you gain to love somebody. It's their imperfections. If anybody tells you that they love a person so much that they have nothing wrong, let's be real with ourselves, Aaron. I think they need to go to see help. Yeah.
Dude, when you spend enough time with someone, you can pick out sort of anything, and focus on it. And like, I think my wife chews loud. So, right, I point that out almost every time she eats. But she doesn't chew loud. She chews like a normal person, like everyone else chews. Like, especially when she's eating something really, really, really fucking
You're
crunchy.
terrible.
And she's like, "What am I supposed to do? It's crunchy." I'm like, "Literally nothing, but this is the joke for the month, and this is our banter, and this is what we're doing." But like that's the beautiful part of a relationship. When you're really trying to cultivate something over a long term, you're gonna have those back and forths where you can, play with each other and have fun. And like one of the advices that I got to keep a marriage or just like a partnership for a really long time is like keep dating one another. Because that's when like it seems so fun. And then like you get married and you have kids and it seems like everything's repeated and it's monotonous and the intimacy goes away. But like you keep dating one another, you keep that banter alive, you keep doing the things that created the spark at the beginning. And so hopefully, God willing, it can last until one of us dies. But the banter, man, is such an important part.
It is. And it's so hilarious about the banter part. It's the memories that you embarrass yourself with around other people. It's like the amount of times you're around other people and you're like, do you remember that one time? And you're like, oh shit. And then it just like the cards unfold. But you know something? I'm not I don't want to demonize social media and the internet. But one of the things that it has really caused is that we've gotten some of us, especially people that are younger, have gotten so used to not being afraid, not being able to say things like, for example, I've run into this many times where you have to tell somebody straight to their face of how you feel. And if they react crazy, like they victimize you, they make you feel horrible, they start harassing you. There are people that run into these situations, and you don't have the strength and ability, like we were saying earlier, to be able to stand up for yourself and say, "I'm not going to take this abuse." Like I have control of my life. This other person can't control me. You never want to get to that place. That's like I feel like you got to be able to have that right mentality from the very beginning. Like you said, like when you get that spark, don't let it be a tainted spark. Because I'm gonna sound like one of those grandmas. Love is a powerful spell.
It is.
It blinds you sometimes.
Yeah, it
It
can.
can.
I think that's why it's important to enter relationships as one's true self, because sometimes we tend to shape shift and mold and then we do maybe become friends with that person or get into a partnership with that person, and we have to keep pretending we're this said person, and that becomes exhausting. Then that person is really not attracted to you. They're attracted to a version of you that's not really you. And now we're going to do that younger in our life. Like that's just going to happen because we don't really know who we are yet. You're not supposed to know who you are maybe in your 20s. We haven't lived enough and experienced enough and done enough and explored enough, but we want to try our best to be in this space in this season of life. Who am I actually trying to be? Because you're always going to be the best you and the second best someone else, and then you're actually going to attract people that are super interested in you. Like for example, for me, when I was in high school, right, I loved WWE. I still love WWE. Fucking, it's the best. And I wore a wrestling shirt to high school every single day. There was two other dudes in my high school who wore a wrestling shirt, and we sat together at lunch, and everyone else thought we were a bunch of fucking weirdos. Great. Dude, I found the two people who actually liked me for me. That's sick. That's awesome. That's the best feeling in the world. You don't need 712 people to like you. You need like one or two people who really like fuck with you in the most pure sense. And you like turtles fire you up. You can find a group of people who love that same
Turtles,
shit, who go out and hunt for turtles, have a YouTube channel, who talk about it. Like that's the best stuff. And you can only find those people when you get really honest about what you do like. And I got really honest that I love WWE. Doesn't matter if someone called me fake. Dude, that shit's gay. I don't give a fuck, dude. I love it. And these are my friends right here, and they have my back, and I love it too. The same kid, this is great, Dave. The same kid that I watched every single pay per view with when I was in high school, his name is Tanner. We're still friends to this day, and he's having a baby in like a couple weeks, and he's having a boy, and our boys are gonna grow up together because my son will be about 5 weeks older than him. Like that's the coolest, and they're gonna watch WWE together. We're gonna take him to Monday Night Raw when they come to Dallas, all the four
dressing
of
up for
us.
Halloween.
Like that's a cool thing.
They're dressing up as
Oh
Halloween.
yeah,
Hulk
dude.
Hogan.
Let's
Let's
go.
go.
I dressed up as the Power Ranger for my Halloween about 8 years in a row. So I'm giving him a Power Rangers vibe. I'm a big superhero guy,
Go Power
so
Rangers. Go
we'll be
Power
watching Batman
Rangers.
and Superman but like there's nothing better than that. Me and my buddy Tanner watched wrestling growing up. Now our sons are gonna watch it growing up. Like that's a vibe. Only because we were super honest about what we really, really liked. If I wanted to hide myself, I would have just been an athlete. So no one would have made fun of me. Ah, that's just Aaron. He plays in the baseball team. He's good. No, that's Aaron. Actually, he's into wrestling. Oh, and he's Jewish. Whoa.
Whoa.
you know,
You don't want to mess with the Jews.
actually it wasn't
Don't
it
wanna mess
wasn't
with
as
the Jews.
wasn't as bad back then. It wasn't as bad back then. Anti-Semitism is much worse now.
No,
So, anyways.
it's really funny you bring that up because I run into so many times where people think I'm Hispanic or I'm Latino. And I got into a point where when somebody starts speaking to me in Spanish, I just literally respond. I'm like, "כן אחי, אתה מדבר עברית? לא? למה אתה לא מדבר עברית?" And they're just like, "What?" So confused. And the reason like I get in that mindset and attitude is like there's so much more to me than that. Like we were talking about before, like the exterior. Like, yeah, I'm Jewish. Yeah, I'm Sephardic. Yeah, I'm gay and fabulous and gorgeous. Yes, girl. But there's all of these other things that are about me. Like you said, like, your passion and love for WWE. For me, like, I love cars. I love podcasting. I love cars. And like, I love German cars. Sorry, Jews. I love German cars.
Germany's my favorite country.
Anybody that like hates German cars, just do better fucking maintenance and make more money. Okay? Don't buy a Mercedes CLA 250 and come back and be like, "Oh my god, it's a piece of garbage." Shut up. We know that you leased it for $199 and put down $3,000 you couldn't even afford on 16 cards. Quiet.
Get fired up, Dave. Get fired up.
I'm like, that's like my pet peeve of the day is Mercedes CLA 250 drivers. Ugh.
I've never been a car guy, so you have to bestow some wisdom on me.
So Mercedes, very similar to BMW doesn't really do this anymore, and Audi kind of does this as well. They have their entry tier, middle tier, and then higher end tier. And Mercedes does this with classes. So they start off with the A class, there's the C class, and then above the C class is the E class. And above the E class is the A class. This is Germany. I'm not explaining their lettering understanding, but that's how they lined it up. So the C class is like mid tier. A class is like the bottom. Like that's like the fucking like shit that you get picked up in like an Uber Black. an Uber XL, like that person definitely is getting that off of Turo, right? That's just fact of life. Now, in the C, supposedly mid tier, there's this piece of garbage called the CLA 250. That's really just an A class. It's a cheap garbage Mercedes. You could probably get better money just buying a Toyota XLE at that point. Like a nice like Toyota Camry. And just the people that own them just bitch. They just complain and they bitch, and it just drives me crazy. It's like, it's a low entry Mercedes with just a C next to it. That does like that the materialism. It's like you're trying to showcase something that you're just sorry, you're not. Get a C class, get a C300, man.
That's funny. What's your ultimate car that are you gonna have to have?
Um, does it have to be new or can it be old?
Whatever floats your fancy.
I've always wanted a 1970 Chevy Monte Carlo.
Sounds sweet.
You should definitely check it out, man. It's a really it like there's something about something that has value to you. We like to put price tags, and I wanted to get into this. Is like we like to put price tags on everything, and there's a certain value of where you have something that means something to you, whether that be like, for example, experience with your wife. You go out somewhere and you have a great time. That means and adds value to your life. Or it could be, that WWE fight where you made a bet and then they had to run around the street on Halloween night with their underpants screaming Friday 13th. Those add value to your life. Like, did it cost thousands of dollars? No. But is it something that you can cherish? And it's something, yes, 100%.
I mean, you're never gonna regret having more good memories.
No.
And it comes back to this money piece we were talking about earlier. Yes, you need money to do certain things, but you can figure it out. You can figure it out. Like, you don't got to fly first class. You don't got to stay in the nicest hotels, right? Like, but you're never going to regret saying yes to that trip or doing that thing or going to that movie or going to that concert or going to that dinner or going to that party. Like, mostly, you're not going to regret it if you're going with people that you actually like and care about. Of course, there's other situations where things could happen, obviously. But my point being is like, again, back to your deathbed. You're laying on your deathbed. You're about to take your last breath. You're gonna be like, oh fuck yeah, dude! That concert I went to with Dave, I remember that. That was awesome. I'm glad I said yes to that because I was leaning on saying no. I'm glad I did that thing or I went on that trip. That backpacking thing I did was amazing. I explored myself and who I wanted to be, and it gave me time and space to open up my mind and to be still and all these types of things or whatever the case may be. It's like that's what it's about. I mean, Harvard did an 85-year, very comprehensive 85-year study on how to live the good life, and they come up with two things. You only need two things to live the good life. One is great relationships, and the other is great health. That's it. Nothing else really matters. And part of that great relationships and great health is like knowing your purpose, knowing the direction you want to go in your life. But man, if you take care of your health, eat well, move well, sleep well, think well, and then have great relationships on top of that, again, great relationships don't mean you have super close relationships with every person you meet ever in life. No, it's like one, two, or three people max because relationships are hard. They take work, they take effort. And right, if you have that and your health, man, I mean, imagine being like, all of us think about this when we're sick. When we're sick, we're like, damn, I wish I could have my health back. Damn, I wish I felt better. Right? Well, start getting proactive with it now. What can you do every day? Move a little bit, to eat a little bit better, to sleep a little bit better, to think a little bit better. Okay, what relationships can you nurture? Are there some conversations that you're avoiding because they're hard and they might be uncomfortable? Well, you start brushing that stuff under the rug. Like Dr. Jordan Peterson says, eventually that dragon's going to burn your fucking house
It
down.
is.
Right? Right now it's a little flame. Okay, let's attack it now. It might be scary. You might get a little burnt, but man, your whole house doesn't get burnt down. And so all these little things we can attack head on, but mostly it's about great relationships and our great health. And we have agency over that. We have control over that. There's so many things in life where we don't, where uncontrollable things happen and bad stuff happens in the world and wars and this and that and that and this. But man, do I have full agency over my health for the most part. There's going to be sometimes things just happen, right? Sometimes people get cancer and all that. I understand. Majority of us though, have control over our health, and we definitely have control over our relationships and how great we can make those by the effort that we put in. And I think those are going to be the most important things.
Yeah, they are. And on the flip side of that, you do have in life, and I have had this happen to me, where you have relationships that are those one or two or three, and you spend a lot of time with these people. Sometimes you move different places, even in my instance, and you still communicate back and forth. You try to be able to fly out when you can and be able to spend time. And in the end, the relationship just ends abruptly. And you realize the mistakes that you made of the things that you were blinded to. For instance, for me, it ended where I had a relationship. I was close with somebody for about 5 years. And I realized that I was spending so much time caring for this other person. This other person wasn't even caring for themselves. They continuously put themselves in toxic relationships and cried and complained. And yet, when you want to be that person that you want to care about the other person, tell them like, stand up, do something about it. Just everything wasn't good enough. It's not that that person's a bad person. They're very successful and amazing in so many ways. But you realize for yourself, for your own psyche, do you really need that in your life? Is that really benefiting you in the long run? No. You're just getting sucked into a toxic relationship that eventually is going to break your mind. And it's not even your life.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah, dude, that's sort of the peril though of being a caring human being. I see this a lot with in the mental health space, right? It's like you have someone who's very mentally unwell and they refuse maybe to get help or get their medication or whatever the case may be, and the person that loves them is just trying to basically save their life for them. And that just doesn't work, right? The person has to make the ultimate choice to get the help, to do the thing, to start the whatever, right? If you're addicted to something, to go to rehab or whatever the case may be, right? It only works that way. Yes, we as the people on the outside can love and support and be kind, but it's like this difference between, rational empathy and toxic empathy, right? Let's say someone is addicted to heroin and you want to be toxically empathetic. So they keep coming back to your house asking for more and more money, and you know exactly what they're doing with it. They lie to you every time. They say they need this or they that, but right when they leave the house, they're going to buy heroin. That's very toxic empathy. What's real love and really empathetic and very rational is they come over to your house and they say, "Hey, Aaron, I need some money, some more for to do whatever." You know what they're buying. You say, "No, I'm not doing that for you anymore." Now there's a chance when they walk out that door that something horrible happens to them, that they do overdose on something or they do whatever, right? But that's the best thing you can possibly do for them because you cannot save them. They have to save themselves, but they need that push, that knowing like this person actually does care about me. They're not enabling my behavior. I've talked to many therapists who said part of the job is that I'm going to lose people to suicide, unfortunately. That's a scary, scary reminder that she can't save everyone, but the people can save themselves. But we have to be able to have this sort of, I mean, Gadsad calls it suicidal empathy. We have to have this real empathy. We have to be able to sit in the pain of that person and say, hey, I can't condone this behavior anymore. And that's really hard when you're looking across someone who you really, really, really love, who like you really love, and you just see them deteriorating, and there's not much else you can do except say, I just can't, I can't help you anymore. I can't go down with you, but I'm here no matter what. Like, and so that's a really hard situation. I see that a lot.
I think it also has to do with addiction because when you let's be real with ourselves, okay? Living in the real world is not easy. There's a lot of things
Mm.
that come with it, and being able to escape, and living in Disney World sometimes is easier than living in reality. When
Yeah.
you see people that are on train or fentanyl or heroin and they're on really toxic shit, you're like, oh my God, that person's like, like at the rock bottom. But in reality, they're in that situation because they don't want to experience our reality. They want to live in that. I think the best way to put it is how they did it in Interview with a Vampire. You're in that phase. in that phase world, you're in that dream world. We're not
Yeah.
experiencing it, so it's hard. But like in the end of the day, like the person's got to come back to reality, and I know reality sucks. Nobody's saying it doesn't. It comes with a lot of problems.
Yeah. But it comes with a lot of joys
It
too.
does. They balance
You
them.
know, right. Well, it makes me think about my sister, and a lot of people who die by suicide, this is the case. Like most of the time when people in that type of situation, similar to my sister, who get to the sort of the depths of their own hell, they don't want to die. They just want the pain to end. And there's a huge distinction there that has to be made. Yes, they make the permanent choice to end their life and they do actually die, but they've found nothing up until this point that can help their pain go away. And they don't know what else to do, and they feel like this is the only choice they have left. And so again, when you think about it in that regard, it sort of debunks the myth that suicide is selfish. It's not selfish. That's a low resolution take on something, and I just have a problem allowing that because it disrespects what my sister went through. What people get to at the end of their life when they see no way out and they're in the trenches and they're in their own hell is that very thing that I don't know what else to do. I need this pain to end, and this is the only way I know how. And so, you're right. They're trying to escape something, something that's potentially temporary, but they make a permanent solution for it. And so I think that's an interesting point that you make.
I think what gets forgotten a lot of the times is we are biological creatures in the sense that, if you want to look at it on a spiritual level as well, if we look at consciousness, and just like we have a just like we have a physical toll, like especially with wrestling, like over time, a person, if they don't keep up with their training and fitness, like you can get serious injuries. And sometimes they can be permanent, and sometimes you can recuperate from them, but you got to go through that proper process. It's kind of the same thing with mental health, too. It's the more that your brain deteriorates, your brain cannot function. You're thinking that there's probably trillions of neurons and signals that are being like, you know, it may not have a plug like a US outlet, but it's definitely getting electricity. It's getting powered somewhere or another. And, we know this like with computer viruses and when things are not functioning, it's like they don't work, they won't operate or function correctly. So I hear your point, though. It's like, yeah, a lot of the times we look at it as being really selfish, but we got to also look at it. It's possible that that person's brain is just, it's not working anymore or functioning
Yeah. I
fully.
mean, yeah, goes back to sort of the other point I was making about getting mental health resources and mental health education with young people. It's the same way for adults. We got to be proactive with the way we think about our mental health, so that when the hardship does come, we've armored ourselves up, and I think that's really important too.
It is. And, I think it's not, it's also being able to have that awareness. It's being able to
Mhm.
send out that message and being clear because, something I've realized is when you run into people that are suffering with mental health issues, from all across the charts, you you realize like how many other people are actually, struggling. There's different variations of how people are struggling and how they're experiencing things. I think being able to have a bit of compassion towards other people is very hard for most people to do. We can only, that is the selfish thing about being human is we can be compassionate to ourselves, but we have a very hard time doing it for other people.
Yeah, yeah. It's why I created the shirt that you're wearing, so the message on the back is very clear to everyone.
Yeah.
Right?
It's
One,
nice.
my mental health nonprofit is called You Are Loved. So, but I think the most important message we can send out outside of the fact that you are deeply, deeply loved is that the world is better with you in it, no matter what. I mean, we talked about being born like one in a trillion, right? And so knowing that, it's like 100% fact that the world is better with you in it. the world is a better place, a more unique place, a cooler place with everything that you have to offer. Doesn't matter if it's your mistakes, your faults, your imperfections, your successes, everything. The world is better because you're in it. And when we can start from that place, Brene Brown is a famous Texan. She's also like a vulnerability researcher. And she says that if you assume that everyone's doing the best they can, it makes your life a little bit better. And I think that's true.
It does. And we've touched on this throughout this episode. I think what makes people so interesting, especially like the small little social circles that we make, is just the weirdos and the freaks that are inside of us. Okay? I've said this so many times to like my best friends. It's like, the weirder you are, honey, please. Because I cannot stand
Yeah.
normality. I cannot stand normal people. Hell nah. No.
What do they talk about?
Normal people? I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know. I don't want to know.
I don't know. I'll be
Probably
I'll be
bananas.
singing weird songs to my son. It's just like random shit's coming out of my mouth. I'm like, if anyone knew what was happening in here about what I'm saying, it's like doesn't even make it's just like gibberish bullshit, but it's great.
Banshee rant. Banshee rant at
Yeah.
1:30 a.m. in the morning to calm your fucking kid from crying.
Oh
Putting
God,
on
it doesn't
putting on
work.
the Indian flute, putting on a mask, getting out the sombrero.
uh, I'm dancing around. I haven't thrown him up and down yet. Apparently, that's bad for his brain when he's 5 weeks old, but we'll
Bro, when
see.
we were kids, our parents did shit to us like today would be like considered like physical abuse. Like back then, it was just like normal shit, It's like you throw your kid on your
Yeah,
bed.
you just figure it out.
Yeah.
It's because we just know too much stuff now. So like everything could be deemed like if this happens, there's a potential that this will happen and this will happen. And I Googled this and this might. I'm like, dude, I told my wife this. I was like, people with way less resources, way less time, way less money, and way less information raise great kids. We'll be just fucking fine.
It's true. Because
It won't
it's
be.
a learning curve. I mean, there's no such thing as a manual. It used to be back in the day, like with my mom generation, like they had Dr. Spock. Okay, that was their manual to raising kids. The truth is like there is no goddamn manual for raising kids. It's every single person. I'll tell you a story, man, and this kind of blew my mind away. I was in Walmart like about a month or two ago, and there was this like 5-year-old kid, and she was just like having a full on meltdown. And like when it was about to start, like the father like got on his knees, he looked at her, and he just was like, "Okay, I told you that we only came in here for one thing." And she's like crying. She's like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Okay, now I'm gonna get you one thing." Now she had two things in her hand. She was having a meltdown because she couldn't have both. So he said, "Okay, which one do you want the most?" Like still her trying to like cry, crocodile tears. She's like, "I want that one." And he's like, "Okay, so put the other one back, take that one and put it in the cart." So she like literally calmed down. She put it back on the shelf. She took her thing. She put it in the cart. He put her in the little seat, and she's completely calm. She was completely fine. And I looked at that, and
Interesting.
I was just like, man, this man looked like he came working out of an HVAC truck 2 hours ago. Okay, and he clearly is not a person that's got like an Oxford or Harvard background, whatever. And he's able to calm down his crying 5-year-old kid in less than 30 seconds.
Nailed it.
Nailed it.
Yeah. That's the juice right there. That's a good dad right there.
Yeah.
Respect to that guy.
But you know what? Like, I'm sure nobody taught him that. He
Just
he
figured it
figured
out.
it out. He figured out like that was his way of calming down his daughter.
There's a great book called Everything is Figure Outable. And just on the title alone, that's true. Well, let's say 99% of things are figure outable, like in everyday life. But again, if we take that mindset and that approach, and also at the same time assume everyone is doing the best they can, we're going to live a better life. I promise you're going to live a better life.
We will. It's just being able to realize that you know, just because today didn't work out, you always got tomorrow. If tomorrow doesn't
That's right.
work out, remember the accomplishments that you did yesterday.
That's right.
Yeah.
There's always another game,
Always.
always another swing.
Always. Before we wrap up, I wanted to honestly touch base on your organization, your work. We've talked about, like, literally we met on a TikTok live. I kid you not. This is shit that you can write down in
Dick.
history. Um, your and just kind of like where people can find you, a little bit more about your work, and just all that jazz, all that wonderful goodness.
The
The
spiel.
spiel,
The
yes,
spiel. You
bringing
got it.
some good.
Well, most importantly, I have a podcast. My podcast is called Something for Everybody. You can find it on every major podcast
Big
platform.
names, buddy.
We have 420
Wow.
episodes, almost 1,000 reviews on
Oof.
Spotify. We're ranked in like the top 120 on Apple Podcasts, so it's pretty good deal. Yeah, so you can watch or listen there. We're on YouTube as well, in case you want to watch, but you can watch on Spotify as well. That's called Something for Everybody. We put out a piece of content, audio version, 5 days a week, YouTube 7 days a week. So got a lot of shit going on there.
Busy.
And then yeah, if you want to check out my nonprofit, where the shirt that Dave has on is from, or this hat that I'm wearing, it's called You Are Loved. You can go to youarelovedlife.com. It's all connected to my podcast, so I have a lot of conversations about mental health and things of that nature. And those are the most important things I'm doing. But if you Google my name, Aaron Machbitz, I'm sure a bunch of stuff will come up, and it'll be interesting what you find. So there
Only
you
good
go.
stuff. We gotta only good stuff. No, no old social media posts from Aaron back in 2015. Party.
If you find some, let me know.
Yes.
Screenshot those babies.
Oh
Yeah,
my gosh.
fire
One
them
of your
up.
classmates must have
I
posted
can't
online somewhere on like Blockster or somewhere.
I can't be canceled now. All of my businesses are my own.
There you
So
go. You're uncancelable. That's even
yeah,
worse.
I guess unless I get amputated and I get removed from the platform, but
Shit.
I don't think I'm going to do anything outrageous, egregious, and horrible like him. So I think I'll be all right.
I think somebody could have smelled that a mile away. Like Diddy, like there were signs. There were
Yeah,
signs. I love how people are like, "Oh my god." Bro, there were fucking signs everywhere. Like if you
yeah,
if you took that UV light, they do in the hotel shows on like HGTV, and just scan the room, you'd see like
nasty,
semen stains
nasty,
everywhere, bro. On the
nasty.
sheets, on the pillows, on the carpet.
Yeah.
Oh, oh my god. I will make sure I'm gonna put all of your links to your stuff below. I'm a little bit of a rebel, so this is gonna be on Substack and Rumble. Because
Well, I love Substack.
Substack is awesome, and people can subscribe.
Substack is the best.
You have,
Is the best social media
you have a
platform we have.
Substack page?
I
Okay,
do.
I'll tag you onto the post once this episode goes out. That way we can share the love and awareness. Because to be honest, that's what we kind of did today. We kind of shared awareness and openness, and it's okay. I think like people that are struggling or going through a difficult time, I think the both of us were really able to give out like a good understanding that life isn't always supposed to be easy, and we run into really hard shit, like losing a parent, losing your sister. Like, we're not the only ones. There's a lot of people that
Yeah.
have gone through shit, and it's like you need a place to turn to. There are those people in your life that you can, and don't be afraid to. Don't feel like you need to carry all this shit on your. For us Jews, like we carry the matzahs leaving Mitzrayim. Don't
Yeah.
be that guy.
Yeah. I mean, that's the point of a community,
Yeah.
right? To carry the burden together.
All the
Um,
matzahs.
and you're definitely not alone in your struggle. Like the beauty of being human is that we go through complex stuff and we find our way through it. And that's a joy. So just know where you're at right now, right? You've already gotten through 100% of your worst days. That's a fucking beautiful thing. And so
Uh,
whatever's coming up next, might as well rock and roll with it.
yeah.
And you're just gonna be keep coming the new and best version of yourself until you take your very last breath and you lay down. And you're like, "Yep, I fucking did it. I gave it my all, and that was awesome. What a ride!" And that's it. That's all we can ask for.
Yeah, and to your point, man, it's as AC/DC put it, it's a long way to the top if you want to rock and roll. I love AC/DC.
Yeah, ACDC.
Legends. Oh my god. Listen, man, thank you so much for taking the time to talk with me. I hope you guys enjoy this, and be sure to check out Aaron's work. And of course, if you're addicted to TikTok and you need a little bit of a refresh, a little bit of socializing,
God.
Aaron is there to entertain you. when he's on those lives.
Yeah, come on.
Come on board.
Come on, TikTok
He answers
Live.
any
Oh,
questions. I
geez.
swear to God, like there are people that put in crazy shit on the comment section, and Aaron's just like, "Okay, let's go."
Yeah, dude, it's pretty fun. Some shit is pretty vile though, man. Like
I've noticed.
some wild stuff.
shit.
But I finally got a moderator in my chat, so some of the stuff that's like really Nazi sort of Holocaust related that I don't want to speak on gets removed. And then now people are, since I've been removing them or muting them, they now message me afterwards and saying, dude, you're fucking lame for removing me. I'm like, dude, don't put like weird dotted swastikas in the chat, bro. That's like not a question. That's like nothing. You're not saying anything of substance where we can have a conversation about it. So I'll pretty much answer anything, but not that
I'm
stuff.
just thinking about that comment that was a picture of a penis, and it was like,
But yeah, that one happens all the time.
it was like, that was hilarious because I was like, yo, I don't think this man is gay, you know? And it's just like, people are like fucking disgusting sometimes, you know? It's just like,
My favorite comments, because they happen every night. I think it's a bot that comes in, but they say a jerkmate comment and a grinder comment. They're my favorite ones to read because it's hilarious. They break up sort of the seriousness of the conversation. I get to laugh. And they're like, bro, I can't find you on jerkmate anymore. Why'd you block me? I'm like, fuck, dude, my bad. I found someone new. It's like, I just think it's hilarious.
oh god, oh my god. You know what? Like again, that's a caveat of social media. Like you got to deal with the crazy people.
If you put yourself out there, man, you can't. It's hard to like get upset when like weird shit happens because that's the place. It's the internet.
The cool part is like you never can know where this person is. You pray it's not your neighbor next door, right?
Yeah. When it does really get really weird. It got really weird at one moment when someone got a picture of my mom off of Facebook, made it their profile picture, and impersonated my mom on the TikTok Live in the chat. That was weird. That was weird.
Fuck, that's like a Twilight Zone episode, right? I mean, modern.
Like that's a lot of effort just to be like, hey, it's your son, it's your mom. I'm like, my mom doesn't have TikTok. Nice picture you got off Facebook.
My mom had recently, when she was leaving to Israel, this guy from like somewhere in Africa was like FaceTiming her like 100 times, and like sent a picture of her picture with candles around it, and was like saying he's like putting a voodoo hex or something, and it was just like bizarre. Like it was like almost as if they knew we were going to the airport. They chose to do that. You know how crazy that is?
Strange.
So strange.
But then you randomly find great people on the internet and you meet and you do a podcast together. So that's what's up.
Oh, right, man. Oh my god. Oh. Listen, thank you so much for seriously taking the time, and I hope anybody that's listening to this, you gain something out of this because, man.
Yeah, I appreciate it very much. Thanks for having
Pleasure,
me.
brother.
Happy to do it anytime.
Oh, of course. And to anybody out there, if you want to check out more of the podcast, you can find us on Pod. Like I said, we are on Rumble and Substack, and you can find us everywhere and anywhere you listen to podcasts. Fuck us. Catch you. All right. Peace out.